Have you ever wondered if being a good man is the very reason you're disrespected? Look around. The guys who always say yes, who try to make everyone happy, where are they? They're the ones getting their time wasted, their efforts taken for granted. This is the nice guy syndrome. You think being good earns respect, but here's the brutal truth. People respect power, not just goodness. Weakness is a scent predators can smell. When you have no boundaries, no backbone, you become a walking target for every user and manipulator. They see your kindness as an opportunity. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. Real power isn't loud. It's cold, calculated control. It's strategy over emotion. Stop being society's favorite victim. The man who lends money and never asks for it back, who covers for lazy friends. People don't respect nice guys. They use them. Start being strategic. Value your own time and energy. Say no when something doesn't serve you. Once you taste what real respect feels like, you'll never go back. Put your own needs first because nobody else will. This doesn't make you selfish. It makes you smart. Selfish people take care of themselves at others' expense. Strategic people take care of themselves so they can operate from a position of strength. When you have standards, when you have boundaries, when you show that your time and energy have value, people start treating you differently. They stop making casual demands. They think before asking for favors. They respect your decisions because they know you make them deliberately, not just to avoid conflict. The nice guy gets used. A strategic man gets respected. Nice guys finish last because they train people to see them as resources, not as individuals worthy of respect. Number 2, learn strategic ruthlessness. Being good isn't enough. You must learn how not to be good when the situation demands it. This is where most men fail. They think being ruthless makes them evil. But strategic ruthlessness isn't about being cruel. It's about being willing to make hard decisions that protect your interests and command respect. When someone disrespects you, your instinct might be to be understanding, to give them the benefit of the doubt, to avoid conflict. This is exactly what they're counting on. They know you'll absorb their bad behavior rather than call it out. Machiavelli once said, "A prince must learn how not to be good." He understood that always being soft, always being forgiving, always being accommodating makes you a target for those who would exploit your nature. Strategic ruthlessness means being willing to cut people off when they show you who they really are. It means not giving endless second chances to people who repeatedly disrespect your time, energy, or boundaries. When someone borrows money and doesn't pay it back, the nice guy makes excuses for them and never brings it up again. The strategically ruthless person makes it clear that this affects the relationship and acts accordingly. When someone consistently cancels plans at the last minute, the nice guy keeps making new plans and hoping for the best. The strategic person stops making plans with unreliable people. When someone talks down to you or treats you with disrespect, the nice guy tries to win them over with more kindness. The strategic person either addresses it directly or removes themselves from the situation entirely. This isn't about being vengeful or cruel. It's about having consequences for bad behavior. People only treat you as badly as you allow them to. Most people are used to dealing with nice guys who will absorb any amount of disrespect rather than create conflict. When you show that you're willing to be ruthless in protecting your standards, it changes the entire dynamic. They realize they can't walk all over you. They understand that treating you poorly has real consequences. They start thinking before they act because they know you won't just smile and take it. Strategic ruthlessness also means making decisions based on what serves your goals, not based on what makes everyone happy. Sometimes you have to choose opportunities that disappoint some people. Sometimes you have to prioritize your advancement over someone else's comfort. The key is being selective. You don't need to be ruthless with everyone about everything. But when someone shows you through their actions that they don't respect you, that they see you as someone to be used rather than someone to be valued, you must be willing to respond with appropriate force. People respect strength. They respect boundaries. They respect consequences. When you show that you're willing to be ruthless in protecting what matters to you, you earn a different kind of treatment. Strategic ruthlessness isn't cruelty. It's self-respect with teeth. Number 3, discipline and emotional control. Your emotions are weapons that can be used against you if you don't control them. Every time you react emotionally instead of responding strategically, you give your power away. Every time you let someone's words or actions trigger an immediate reaction, you show them exactly how to manipulate you in the future. The person who can stay calm while others lose control has a massive advantage. They can think clearly, make better decisions, and project strength even in difficult situations. Emotional control doesn't mean being emotionless. It means feeling your emotions, but choosing how to act on them. It means responding with strategy instead of reacting with impulse. When someone insults you, your emotional impulse might be to insult them back or to get defensive. But the strategic response might be to simply look at them calmly and say nothing, letting them expose their own lack of class. When someone tries to pressure you into a decision, your emotional impulse might be to give in quickly to avoid conflict. But the strategic response is to say, I need time to think about this, and actually take that time to consider what's best for you. Machiavelli once said, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. This means your ability to make good decisions, including who you allow into your life, depends on your ability to think clearly rather than react emotionally. Emotional people make terrible decisions. They choose friends based on how those people make them feel in the moment rather than on character and loyalty. They say yes to opportunities that excite them without considering the long-term costs. They make enemies out of people who could have been allies just because they could and control their temper. Strategic people make calculated decisions. They choose relationships based on mutual benefit and respect. They evaluate opportunities based on how they align with their long-term goals. They pick their battles carefully and fight them to win. This doesn't make you cold or heartless. It makes you reliable and trustworthy. People know they can count on you to stay level-headed when situations get intense. They know you won't make impulsive decisions that hurt everyone involved. Emotional control also means not being controlled by your need for approval, validation, or immediate gratification. When you can delay reactions, consider multiple options, and choose responses based on what serves your interests rather than what feels good in the moment, you operate from a position of strength. Practice this in small situations first. When someone cuts in line, when you receive criticism, when plans change unexpectedly. Use these moments to practice responding thoughtfully rather than reacting automatically. The goal is to become someone who others can't push around emotionally, someone who stays calm under pressure, someone who thinks before acting and acts with purpose. Emotional control is the foundation of personal power. Master your reactions and you master your relationships. Number 4, build and control your image. People don't judge you by your intentions. They judge you by what they can observe. This is one of Machiavelli's most important insights. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Your reputation, your image, the way people perceive you. This matters more than your inner goodness or your private thoughts. Most men leave their image to chance. They hope that if they're good people, others will naturally see their value. But that's not how human psychology works. People form opinions about you within seconds of meeting you. They judge you based on how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you react to situations. Once that opinion is formed, it's very hard to change. If your image is that of someone who can be pushed around, who always accommodates others, who never stands up for himself, that's how people will treat you, regardless of your actual capabilities or character. The solution is to build your image deliberately. Think about how you want to be perceived. Then make sure your actions align with that image. Want to be seen as someone who commands respect? Then stop explaining yourself excessively. Stop apologizing for things that don't require apologies and start carrying yourself with confidence. Want to be seen as valuable? Then stop being available for every request and start being selective about where you invest your time and energy. Want to be seen as strong? Then stop avoiding conflict. When your boundaries are crossed, and start addressing disrespect directly and calmly. Your image is built through countless small interactions. How you handle interruptions in conversations, whether you speak with authority or constantly seek approval. How you dress, how you stand, how you look people in the eye when you talk to them. People are always watching and judging even when you don't realize it. They notice whether you laugh at jokes at your own expense. They notice whether you back down when challenged. They notice whether you keep your commitments or make excuses. Every interaction is either building the image you want or reinforcing an image you don't want. There's no neutral. You're always moving in one direction or another. The most important thing to understand is that perception often becomes reality in relationships and social situations. If people perceive you as weak, they'll treat you as weak, which will make you feel weak, which will make you act weak, and the cycle continues. But if you deliberately build an image of strength, competence, and self-respect, people will treat you accordingly, which reinforces those qualities in yourself. Don't leave your reputation to chance. Don't assume people will see your true value if you just keep being nice and hoping for the best. Take control of how you're perceived by being intentional about the signals you send. Remember, if you don't build your image, others will build it for you based on their observations of your behavior. And they might not build the image you want. Your image is your reality in social interactions. Build it deliberately, or others will build it for you. Number 5, use silence as a weapon. In a world where everyone feels the need to constantly talk, explain, and justify themselves, silence becomes a form of power. Most men, especially those used to being nice guys, have a compulsion to fill every silence. They feel like they need to explain their decisions, defend their choices, and make sure everyone understands their perspective. This actually makes you appear weak and uncertain. When you over-explain, you're essentially asking for permission to have boundaries. When you fill every pause with words, you show that you're uncomfortable with any tension or ambiguity. Strategic silence works in several powerful ways. 1, it makes you appear more thoughtful and deliberate. When someone asks you a question and you pause before answering, it shows that you take decisions seriously rather than just reacting automatically. 2, silence often makes others reveal more than they intended. People are uncomfortable with silence, so they'll often keep talking to fill the void, sometimes sharing information they didn't mean to share. 3, silence can be a devastating response to disrespect. When someone says something inappropriate or tries to manipulate you, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply look at them and say nothing. Let them sit with the awkwardness of their behavior. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." Sometimes the most strategic thing you can do is keep your thoughts to yourself until the right moment to reveal them. When someone makes an unreasonable request, instead of immediately explaining why you can't do it, just say, "I'll think about it," and then stay silent. The burden is now on them to justify why their request is reasonable. When someone tries to pressure you into a quick decision, silence is your friend. "Let me consider this." Followed by actual silence gives you time to think and shows that you don't make impulsive choices. When someone criticizes you unfairly, resist the urge to defend yourself immediately. Sometimes silence forces them to reconsider their position or expose the weakness in their argument. Silence also creates mystery, and people are naturally drawn to what they can't fully understand or predict. When you're not constantly sharing your thoughts, opinions, and reactions, people become more interested in what you're thinking. This doesn't mean being antisocial or refusing to communicate. It means being strategic about when you speak and when you don't. It means letting your words carry more weight because you use them selectively. Practice being comfortable with pauses in conversation. Don't feel like you need to respond immediately to every statement or question. Take time to think and let others wonder what's going through your mind. When you do speak, people will listen more carefully because they know you don't waste words. Your opinions will carry more weight because you don't share them casually. Silence creates power, mystery, and respect. Use it strategically to make your words more valuable when you do speak. Number 6, be useful, but never harmless. There's a crucial difference between being useful and being harmless. And understanding this difference separates men who are respected from men who are used. Useful people solve problems, contribute value, and make things better. Harmless people avoid conflict, never challenge anything, and go along with whatever keeps the peace. People respect useful individuals because they make life better. But they take advantage of harmless individuals because they know there will never be any consequences for bad behavior. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. This means you need to be smart enough to see when people are trying to use you and strong enough to do something about it when they do. Being useful means bringing skills, knowledge, and resources that people value. It means being someone others seek out because of what you can contribute, not just because you'll say yes to anything. Being harmless means never causing problems for anyone, even when problems need to be caused. It means staying quiet when you should speak up, avoiding conflict when conflict is necessary, and letting people walk over you rather than standing your ground. The harmless person thinks they're being good by never making waves. But what they're actually doing is enabling bad behavior and making life worse for everyone, including themselves. When you see someone being treated unfairly, and you say nothing because you don't want to get involved, that's being harmless, not good. When someone consistently takes advantage of your kindness, and you never address it because you want to avoid conflict, that's being harmless, not kind. When you watch someone make decisions that will hurt people, and you stay silent because you don't want to be seen as negative, that's being harmless, not supportive. People don't respect harmless individuals because they can't count on them when things get difficult. They know that when a situation requires someone to take a stand, the harmless person will find an excuse to disappear. But useful people, they step up. They address problems. They're willing to be uncomfortable when it serves a greater purpose. This doesn't mean looking for fights or being unnecessarily aggressive. It means being willing to be the bad guy when someone needs to be the bad guy. Sometimes being useful means having difficult conversations. Sometimes it means setting boundaries that disappoint people. Sometimes it means choosing sides instead of trying to please everyone. People trust useful individuals with important responsibilities because they know these people will handle whatever comes up, even if it's unpleasant. They don't trust harmless people with anything significant because they can't rely on them to deal with challenges. Be someone people can count on to do what needs to be done even when it's not easy or comfortable. Useful people are valued and respected. Harmless people are ignored and exploited. Choose to be useful. Number 7, stay unpredictable. Predictable people get used. Unpredictable people get respected. When people can predict exactly how you'll respond to any situation, they can manipulate those responses to get what they want from you. They know that pressure will make you give in. They know that guilt will make you comply. They know that flattery will make you do favors. This predictability makes you a tool in other people's hands instead of a person worthy of respect. Machiavelli once said, "Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times." Situations change, people change, and your responses should change accordingly. The key isn't to be erratic or unreliable. It's to be thoughtfully unpredictable. Making decisions based on what each situation actually requires, rather than falling into automatic patterns. When someone makes a request, sometimes you say yes immediately. Sometimes you need time to think about it. Sometimes you decline politely. They can't predict which response they'll get, so they have to actually make their case instead of just assuming you'll comply. When someone tries to pressure you, sometimes you stand firm immediately. Sometimes you walk away without explanation. Sometimes you turn the pressure back on them by asking why they were in such a hurry for your decision. When someone acts disappointed in you, sometimes you address their concerns if they're valid. Sometimes you ignore the manipulation attempt entirely. Sometimes you point out that their disappointment is not your responsibility. This unpredictability serves several important purposes. 1. It keeps people from taking your responses for granted. They can't just assume you'll automatically agree or automatically refuse. They have to treat each interaction as unique. 2. It forces people to actually consider your position instead of just trying to push your buttons. When they can't predict how you'll react, they have to engage with you as an individual rather than as a predictable response machine. 3. It makes your positive responses more meaningful. When people know you might say no, your yes carries real weight. When they know you could walk away, your presence becomes valuable. 4. It protects you from falling into patterns that don't serve your interests. Maybe you used to always say yes to extra work, but now sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't, depending on your actual priorities and workload. The key is basing your responses on what actually makes sense in each situation, rather than on what people expect from you, or what will avoid the most conflict. This requires developing confidence in your own judgment. Instead of automatically trying to please everyone or automatically being difficult with everyone, you pause and ask, what's the right response here? What serves my interests while being fair to the situation? People respect this kind of thoughtful decision-making because it shows you reoperating from your own principles rather than just reacting to social pressure. Predictability is weakness. When people can't predict your responses, they can't control your behavior. Here's what most men will never understand. The world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards power. It rewards strength. It rewards those who understand that respect is earned through boundaries, not through endless accommodation. You don't have to choose between being good and being respected. But you do have to understand that being good without strength, without standards, without the willingness to be ruthless when necessary, that isn't goodness. That's just weakness disguised as virtue. Real strength comes from strategic thinking. Real respect comes from having boundaries. Real power comes from controlling your emotions, your image, and your responses, rather than letting others control them for you. The strategies I've shared today aren't about becoming cruel or heartless. They're about becoming someone who commands respect rather than someone who begs for it. People will treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you. If you teach them that you have no standards, no boundaries, no consequences for bad behavior, they'll treat you accordingly. But when you show that you value yourself, that you have limits, that you're willing to walk away from people who don't respect you, everything changes. Start applying these principles today. Stop being everyone's nice guy. Start being someone who earns genuine respect through strength and strategy. The right people will value you more, not less. The relationships that survive will be based on mutual respect rather than one-sided accommodation. If this opened your eyes, subscribe for more truth about power, respect, and what it really takes to succeed as a man in today's world. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I refuse to be weak. I choose power and control. Remember, men who stay weak will always be ruled. Men who choose power will never be forgotten.